Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your SAT prep class for Tuesday, March 31st. Today, I'm going to show you how to solve the example 5 prompts that we went over yesterday, or that I presented yesterday, so that you can prepare for the quiz. Attached to the Google Classroom link that had this video is the quiz. I need you to finish the quiz, please, by tomorrow at noon. Okay? Here are the 5 questions I asked you to solve. All right, so the first problem, modeled after page 576, number 1, told you that b equals a minus 7. It also said that a minus b squared minus 34 was what I'm looking for. Okay, so how do we solve the problem? Pretty simply, we take that a minus 7 and we plug it in for b. So I have a minus 7, all squared, minus 34. I distribute the minus sign. A minus a plus 7 squared minus 34. A minus a is nothing. 7 squared minus 34 is what we're looking for. That's 49 minus 34, and that answer is 15. On the multiple choice options, 15 was letter choice B. Hopefully there was no problem there. Make sure you can do it. Again, if there's any issues, look it over. Let me know if you have any questions before the quiz. Don't wait until you're taking the quiz. In the future, I guess I should say, because I've already posted the quiz, so hey, don't ask me anything now. Number 3 gave you the same prompt as before. We had this person who was pitching. I asked you to put them in order, so this is like number 3. Putting them in order, we had 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and 16. You had to find the median, well, it was right there. Median equals 9. You had to find the arithmetic mean, which means you add them all up. They added to 70. And you divide by the number of terms. There were 7. And you get 10. This was not the hard part. Actually, there really is no hard part. They ask you to solve the following. What is m minus a quantity squared minus 3? That was the prompt that you had to solve. So let's go and do it. All right, well, m is 9, a is 10. I'm going to square it, and then I'm going to subtract 3. Negative 1 squared minus 3 is 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And that was answer choice A. Hopefully these are not too challenging. I think of the difficulty level here, this was a pretty simple one. Moving on to the next problem, which was number 20, or similar to number 20, I should say, with the changes I suggested. So number 20 gave you a system which was ax minus y equals 5, x plus by equals, was that 0? Okay, I think so. Yep, there we go. Hard to read my own writing sometimes. And you were given that xy solution, negative 3, 1. I asked you to solve for what negative a plus b would equal. So we have to use the fact that negative 3, 1 is the solution to the system so we could figure out what a and b are. So I'll do the first line first. Ax, that's a times negative 3 minus y, which is minus 1, equals 5. That's negative 3a minus 1 equals 5. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 3a equals 6. Divide by negative 3. A is the number negative 2. I'm going to do the same thing for the second equation. X plus by equals 0. Well, x is negative 3 plus by, y is the number 1, equals 0. That's negative 3 plus b equals 0. Add 3 to both sides, and b equals 3. This is not too difficult, I hope. But plug it in carefully, please. Negative a is negative parenthesis negative 2. Plus b means plus 3. Negative negative 2 is 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5. The answer I'm looking for there is 5. That was a grid in equals 5. Questions or comments? Read it over again, pause it, rewind it, take a look at it. That's how you'd solve the problem. Okay. Incidentally, not for nothing, obviously you can watch this video while you take the quiz. The numbers will be different, but the concept will be the same. So clearly I'm hoping you guys do well on this quiz. Okay. Moving along to the peso problem number 31. All right, same prompt, okay? We had the U.S. to Mexico ratio was 1 to 14.9. That's the U.S. to Mexico. The U.S. to India ratio was 1 to 62.2. Then we dropped the U.S. out of the equation. We just talked about the ratio of Mexican pesos to Indian rupees. So if I put Mexico over, not roop, but Mexico over India, I have a proportion of 14.9 pesos to 62.2 rupees. The question said, if I give you 80 rupees, how many peso will you have? Okay, so if I give you 80 rupees, that means 80 is the denominator of the following ratio. Now we have a proportion to solve. How many pesos is it worth? We cross multiply. 62.2, not equals x, 62.2x equals 80 times 14.9. That's going to be 1,192. We're going to divide both sides by 62.2, and we're going to get our answer. It asks you to round it to the nearest hundredth. It is money, after all. And that's 19.16 pesos. So the answer, 19.16. That's it. Last question to review before you start your quiz was the one that had the most work, I think. It was like number 36, but I gave you different coordinates. So I said, we have a line out there in space whose distance is 10. We've got an end coordinate of negative 6, 4. We have an end coordinate of x, 10. I asked you to figure out what x would be. That's not too hard to do. So you have to know the distance formula. Again, distance formula is the square root of the difference of the x's squared plus the difference of the y's squared. Distance here was 10. And I have x minus negative 6, which means plus 6, squared plus 10 minus 4 squared. All right, I'm going to expand the x plus 6 squared. I'm going to just shortcut it, but if you can't, then I want you to expand it and then FOIL it together. That would be x squared plus 12x plus 36 plus 10 minus 4 is 6, and 6 squared is another 36. Okay, so I have 10 equals square root x squared plus 12x plus 72. 36 plus 36. Now I'm going to square both sides to get rid of the square root symbol. All right, so I have 100. The reason is, again, I'm squaring both sides. 100 equals x squared plus 12x plus 72. It's going to be a quadratic problem to solve. I have to subtract the 100 from both sides so that my answer can be set equal to 0. I'm subtracting 100 from both sides. You have an option here. You can either use the quadratic formula or you can factor it because this is factorable. I'm going to factor it. It's just easier that way. So when you factor this, you have to ask yourself what multiplies to negative 28 and adds to positive 12. The answer is going to be positive 14 and negative 2. If you can't do this, simply use the quadratic formula. But I'm going to write x plus 14 and x minus 2 as my factored form. You know with the zero product property, can't speak, you're going to have to figure out what x would create a zero product. And that would give you two answers. We have negative 14 or positive 2. Now, that actually would be valid. X could be either one of those two things. However, it's a grid in. And what is the one thing you cannot grid in? Negatives. So what answer am I looking for here? I'm looking for the answer 2. You could not grid in negative 14. Now listen, if you can't factor, that's fine. It's okay. You're going to use the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, and then solve it carefully. You'll get the same answer. You'll get negative 14 and positive 2. Again, you can't grid in a negative number, so that's not the answer I'm looking for. That's it, guys. Your quiz will have the grids available to you for the 3 that you chose that are grid in. Be careful. Choose the right answer. There's nothing else that you have to do. Please take the quiz. Please take it honestly. Yes, you can watch the video while you do it. Please make sure that your answers are good and correct the first time through. You can rewind, you could pause, you could do whatever you need. You got all the answers, steps in front of you. Good luck.